Have you ever walked into a meeting room and expected a lively discussion only to be met with complete silence? You have a few ideas of your own, but you're hoping that your team will challenge them, improve them, perhaps suggest completely different approach. So you ask, "What does everybody think?" And the room goes silent. So you try another question, a few polite smiles, some nods, and then somebody says, "Yeah, I think it's okay." And that's about it. Not too much discussion, more like complete agreement. And then you leave that meeting wondering, why is it so difficult to get my Indonesian team to share their ideas? If you've experienced this, you are certainly not alone, because many foreign managers assume that their team either maybe lacks confidence, isn't engaged, simply doesn't have any ideas. But in most cases, none of those assumptions are really true. More often than not, there's probably three cultural factors that are influencing what you're seeing. The first begins long before your employees ever start working for you. Let me explain their education system. So, one of the biggest differences between many Western countries and Indonesia is how students are traditionally encouraged to participate in the classroom. In countries like Canada, Australia, UK, even the United States, students are often encouraged to ask questions, challenge ideas, join in the discussion, and express their own ideas. In fact, teachers often reward students who participate in the classroom. Speaking up is seen as a positive thing because it demonstrates engagement, and then that will lead to critical thinking. But many Indonesian classrooms have traditionally operated quite differently. The teacher teaches, the students listen. Knowledge tends to flow in one direction, not a back and forth discussion. Students are generally expected to absorb the information rather than to debate it. Speaking without being invited or questioning what the teacher has said is often viewed as inappropriate or unnecessary. Now, imagine spending almost 20 years learning in that type of environment. And then on your first day with the foreign manager or soon after he's arrived, suddenly you're asked, "So, what do you think?" For many Indonesians, that's a completely different expectation from what they've experienced throughout most of their education, being asked their opinion. The second issue that's going on is hierarchy. Respect for hierarchy plays a much bigger role in Indonesia than it does in many Western workplaces. Many employees generally believe that the manager is the person who should have the answers. After all, you're the one with all the experience. You're the one that's supposed to be leading the team. So if you've already suggested the idea, some employees may wonder, who am I to disagree?
Yes, good idea.
Who am I to question that? Perhaps manager always knows best. So silence doesn't necessarily mean agreement. Quite often, it's respect. The third reason is perhaps the most important, in that your employees may not know if it's safe for them to give honest feedback. So switch roles. Imagine that you're the employee and your new manager says, "I want everyone to be completely honest." It sounds encouraging, but what's going through their minds is, do you really mean that? What happens if I don't agree? Will the manager think that I'm being disrespectful? Will this affect how they see me as being argumentative and not supporting the team? Until people know that it's generally safe to disagree, many will choose the safer option, which is to remain silent. The good news is that this is one factor that you can certainly influence. Creating an open office culture doesn't happen because you tell people to speak up. It happens because you consistently demonstrate that different opinions are welcome. When someone offers an alternative idea, thank them. credit them, especially if it has a positive outcome. When someone points out a problem, don't become defensive. Encourage them to do more of it. Show your team that disagreement isn't about criticism. It's seen as helping the team make better decisions. Over time, something interesting will happen. The meeting becomes more interactive. People understand what you're doing. People begin to contribute their ideas. Questions become more common. Not because Indonesian employees have suddenly changed. It's because you've built a corporate environment where everybody knows it's safe to speak up, even if it's against you. So, if your Indonesian team isn't giving you much feedback, don't assume that they have nothing to contribute. More often, they're balancing years of educational experience, respect for hierarchy, and trying to work out whether or not your invitation to speak up is actually genuine. Once that trust has been established, you may discover that they've had valuable ideas all along. If you're managing a team in Indonesia and would like to better understand these cultural dynamics and others and how they affect your leadership, I'd be delighted to help you. A few hours of cultural coaching can often save months of misunderstanding and help you build a stronger, more engaged team. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.